Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
30 seconds to
What do you
air.
think about flowers for the show notes page?
These are for the guests.
Hey, I'm gonna need some more books for these mics.
Anyone have the promo for the show notes?
Wait, where's the Fiji water? Is this tap water?
15 seconds.
Somebody get the cat.
I can't drink tap
Grab
water.
the cat.
Can someone tell Joe's mom to stop vacuuming?
It's not hard to find.
Has anybody
This
seen
Fiji.
my hair gel?
Artesian water. Natural.
Quiet on the set. Live in 3, 2.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and today you'll learn how to achieve well-being by empowering your family's financial and human capital with founder of Family and Money Matters, Elaine King. Joining us for the discussion is someone who's become part of our family. It's Paula Pant. And finally, the guy who's also a part of the family, but more like the weird uncle who yearly cracks that pull my finger joke. It's Len Penzo. But that's not all. Halfway through the show, I'll share my fiery trivia question. And now, the father of Stacking Benjamins, our very own Homer Simpson, it's Joe Saul-Sehy.
I don't think, Doug, have I ever gone,
Well, here's what you do. Donuts. Donuts.
Donuts. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday to you all. I am Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter or X or whatever we call it
Twix.
today.
Can it be Twix now? That seems like the perfect marriage of Twitter and X.
It is. Oh, delicious, too. Don't do that. I'm hungry. We've got a phenomenal panel, Doug, as you so eloquently said. Let's start off with a couple of the voices that many of you already know. The man deep under Los Angeles in his bunker. It's Mr. Len Penzo here. How are you, my friend?
Well, I'm doing well. Summer is over now, and so I'm going through my supply of summer sausage since it's expired, and I'm going to have to toss that out into the trash.
Oh, my goodness. They don't get any better, Elaine. They don't get any. We're going to introduce Elaine in a minute, but that's just the beginning of a. Hey, Len, I just became friends with this guy who is illiterate, but he's phenomenal. He lives by a bunch of unwritten rules. No?
That's a good one.
Anybody?
God, I hope our editors catch that.
Is this still on? Are we here?
Should I repeat my summer sausage joke again or no?
And someplace far above Manhattan, Paula Pant joins us.
Ooh, I don't know why I'm here, but here I am.
You're here so you don't get fined, right? To quote that Marshawn Lynch. How are you today?
I am solid. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Better that you're here, and better, Paula, because we have a very special guest today.
We do.
Yes. She is a woman who's a phenomenal financial planner. She has amazing social media presence. She's given a lot of financial help to a ton of families, not just here, but in different places around the world. Elaine King is here. How are you?
I'm great and happy to be here in such a good vibe environment.
I thought you were just wondering what you were doing here, Elaine. She's like, how did I get booked on this?
I was just clicking away in Google and I just happened to be.
Well, let's talk about you. First of all, congratulations. You were just named again, I think, to the top 10 financial planners by Investopedia. Congratulations.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Very cool.
I made the top 100 and this time it was top 10 for the first time. So I'm very blessed and grateful.
Well, it is very well deserved. You have a heck of a personal story. Can you tell everybody a little bit about who you are? Because I think your story is very fascinating.
Which part?
Yes, right. Right. Yeah, we can start there. You weren't born in America. You were born in Peru?
Yes. So I was born in Lima, Peru. And at the age of 5, I moved to Toronto because of my dad's work. And then I went elementary in Toronto and middle school in Mexico, high school in Wellesley, and part of Peru. And then I didn't have enough of the traveling, I guess. So then I went to school in Austria and also in Texas, just to, kind of change and blend. Right. And then my master's, I did most of it in Japan. And then I moved to Manhattan just so that it wasn't challenging enough. And now I am just, having pina coladas in Miami. I'm just kidding. I don't like pina coladas. I am enjoying the weather, and the beach is amazing here.
So you don't like pina coladas, but you do like getting caught in the rain.
Yeah.
So bad.
Right?
Yes. I mean, rain is fine because it makes you work. So yes. That's fun.
So I think I hear the Peruvian accent in your voice, but you've lost all the Canadian, Elaine.
I know. It's about.
I think her accent's going to change 4 times during the course of this episode. I better hear a y'all at some point, Elaine.
That's right.
And then I parked your car because I went to Boston.
Yeah, and Wellesley, yeah.
Wow.
And for Texas, yeah. Oh, howdy.
Let's talk a little bit about your practice too, though. You're a financial planner helping some families get where they want to go.
Absolutely. So I started my career in Wall Street in Manhattan. And then I decided to help the family as opposed to just focus on investments as a core. I'm helping all kinds of families from family office profile, 4 generations, 200 members, to I also help nonprofits with financial planning.
And we will link to all of the good stuff Elaine does on our show notes at StackyBenjamins.com, and also, of course, to Len and Paula. We'll talk more about what you have going on right now at the end of the show. But before that, Elaine, I don't know if you know this, but there's a bunch of rules associated with this show and appearing on this show. Did we ever give you the contract? In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business.
I have my attorney still reviewing it because it's so long, but I figure why not just show up and then, we can talk offline.
Well, let's let everybody else listen to this, and you and I will continue this discussion. Hold on. Well, I think we need to look at subsection C again, though, Elaine, if that's all right.
Well, page 232, subsection C, what you're saying, I mean, the third line, I don't agree, but, I figured it's too complicated.
Well, I think you really have to agree to appear in the trivia question at the middle. So we're going to fight about that. Hold on a second. Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you. And I'm signing it. Fantastic. Well, we finally got her. Elaine King is here. We got Paula Pant, Len Penzo, neighbor Doug. Let's get this conversation started. Today we have a piece that really we're not even going to talk about, but I was at theverge.com and I saw NASA had this incredibly cool new air pollution map. We will link to it on our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com so you can look at it if you're interested in where pollution is around the United States. But I was thinking, as I was looking at this pollution map, some areas, obviously, around Paula, where you are in Manhattan, Len, where you are in Los Angeles, Elaine, where you are in Miami, you'll see more pollution in some of those areas. I started thinking, as a finance show, where is the pollution in our financial plans? Where is the pollution in our financial thinking? Because back when I was a financial planner, man, there was a lot of pollution out there, and we can help people clean that up and have some, quote, I guess, clean air. If we want to keep that metaphor going, we can clean up the air when it comes to your planning. So let's start, Elaine, with you. When you're talking to families, what's one big area of their financial thinking or their financial planning where you see a lot of, we'll call it pollution?
Well, first of all, I love the topic. And I was thinking, as a good financial planner, I'm very structured. So I was thinking, okay, so there are internal and external pollutants, and then there are the ones that you kind of create in your mind.
Oh, nice.
I see a lot of them, the ones that you create in your mind, because there's some that you can't control, but there's some that you can control. And maybe you think you have them. And as a financial planner, I can think how to, disperse them out of your financial well-being.
So the internal pollutants you're talking about, the stuff going on between our ears, that's just junk.
Yeah, like the internal ones, I would say, are the ones that you're born with also, that your parents told you that, debt is bad, or money is hard to get, or limiting beliefs, and things that your spouse says or your kids say. The external ones are obviously the ones you turn on the TV and you listen to, all the ones that are happening that the media sometimes wants you to see that they really don't exist. But the other ones are the ones that sometimes your mind takes all that information and creates them and says, I cannot do this. And yes, you can. With a little bit of information, you can.
I think, Len, Elaine is singing off your song sheet there. You're about radical responsibility, but to be responsible for your financial goals, you got to clean that up.
Yes. One of the big things you got to do is, first thing is what I call money leaks, right? So you got to watch out for things where you're leaking money where you don't necessarily know where you're leaking money. Like pollution can be, a lot of pollution you don't even see, but it's out there. Same with your money leaks. There's certain things that you have that, for example, your spending, your discretionary spending. You might be going out to eat every week and you don't realize what an impact that's hitting on your bottom line, on your income. So that's the kind of thing you got to look at. You got to be looking for those kind of things that are taking money that you're spending on certain things, and you should be putting towards other things that can actually help your financial well-being and maybe make you more money over the long run.
I definitely, especially in the second half of today's discussion, Len, I want to give people some tactical advice there. What are some things to clean up on the external things, to use Elaine's language, external things that we can clean up fairly quickly after people listen to the show? They might even be able to hit pause and do it. But let's go back to these internal things, Len. Let's take going out to eat, going out to restaurants a lot. There's an issue in our thinking there as well, I think. Let's take that back to, why do we go out to dinner so often?
Well, it's fun, right? First off, who likes to cook? A lot of people don't like to cook, or they can't cook. So they go out and they'll go out to eat. And really that's costing them in the long run, right? So if you put a little effort into learning how to cook, you could actually clean that financial pollution out of your life, right? Just by buying your own food and not paying for somebody else to make that food for you, you can save a lot. You can save a lot right there. So yeah, that's why I go out to eat, right? It's good. It's fun.
But what's funny? It started off as fun for me, but there are times I go out to eat now when I'm just lazy, and it truly isn't fun. And then I'm just kind of blowing money. Paul, I want to bring you into this conversation, because when you and I are answering people's questions on Afford Anything, we're talking about the issue sometimes is with your thinking. So I think, going back to what Elaine was talking about, what's between your ears, where do we get so confused and have all this pollution in between our ears so often?
Well, as Elaine said, there are certain scripts that we are taught as children about money. So, for example, if we saw our parents fighting about money, we learn money is a source of conflict. And so we start to hate money, we resent money because it is a source of conflict. If we were surrounded by grown-ups who told us money is the root of all evil, or who associated being rich necessarily with greed, right? Then again, we've internalized these very negative money scripts. And so we have a lot of those scripts, implicit scripts, unwritten scripts from early childhood. that permeate into our thinking. In addition to that, we also have cognitive biases. Now, those cognitive biases differ from scripts because scripts are psychological. Cognitive biases are innate. Negativity bias, loss aversion. Those impact the ways in which we think about and handle money that are simply part of the way that our brains are wired. So that's part of cleaning up the pollution in between your ears. And final thing I'll say, going out to eat thing is what strikes me when I'm listening to both you and Len talk, Joe, is, you talk about it's fun, that's enjoyment. Then you talk about convenience, right? That's another factor. So there's enjoyment, there's convenience, there's socialization, there's habit formation, right? There are all of these different needs that going out to eat could satisfy. And so I think part of the solution is to ask yourself, when I'm going out to eat, which of these unfulfilled needs am I trying to get met, right? And once you can identify that need, then it becomes a question of how else do I satisfy that particular need?
There's another piece of that. Well, actually, even before we get to that, Elaine, it sounds like as I'm listening to Paula talk, I'm thinking there's a big piece. A lot of the pollution is around what mom says, know thyself, right? We're all looking outward with our money. I'm looking for the best interest rate on a savings account. I'm looking for the best investment for my money. I'm looking for a great tax strategy. It sounds like what you and Paula and Len are saying, it really starts with knowing you.
Absolutely. I think the biggest pollutant, if we're just like sporadically talking about, things, is when somebody says something and does something else. So I have a client that says, Elaine, I'm going to buy, I don't know, I'm going to do an extension to my home and it's $50,000. But then they go out to eat every day. And, oh, by the way, too, they're not fit. So when your actions and your money, your goals and your financial actions don't align, that creates stress. And that's like an anxiety inertia cycle. That's what it creates, because then you feel down and have no energy because you can't do this. And then you do it more. And then at the end, you don't have that extension to your home. So I'm hearing you, Joe, that you wanted something for the audience to take away is to make a list. It's as simple as that. And you can do it on a piece of paper. You don't need a complicated software. Just put it, say what you're doing, where your money's going, and is that aligned to what I want to accomplish this month? If it's not, then how am I going to be able to accomplish it this month? And how much is it going to cost me? It's important.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And as I'm listening to you, Elaine, I think you can just open up your banking app and go back through how you spent money the last month and go, did that serve me or not?
Right. How is this getting me closer to my goal of, I don't know, traveling around the world or starting my own business or doing that extension for my kid, an additional room because we need 2 bathrooms. I actually had a client like that needed 2 bathrooms and needed that. So how is that getting me closer? Is that additional clothes that I'm buying going to get me closer or not? I think that's the biggest pollutant, when your actions don't align to your financial goals.
I prefer to only use 1 bathroom at a time personally. So, I guess I misinterpreted that. I'm sorry.
No, I think you should have 1 bathroom per 2 people in the house. If you have 4 people in 1 bathroom, that makes it hard.
My dad grew up with 16 brothers and sisters, and they had 17 kids, 1 bathroom.
I was going to say that my mom was the same way, 10 kids in 1 bathroom. Yep.
The older houses were like that, right? 1 garage, 3 bedrooms, and 1 bathroom.
Right. Yeah. It was a whole different time. And sadly, too, mostly sisters. My dad had mostly sisters.
Oh, my God. So your dad went to the bathroom outside, basically.
Lots of mirrors outside of the bathroom.
Yeah. The whole world, Doug, was his litter basket. Yes.
A big garden.
That's right. Yeah, there were areas that grass really grew. Everybody's thinking, what the hell are you guys talking about? Where are you at? Yes, we're talking about polluting the outside. I think it's apropos. Len, getting back to what you said, there's something that strikes me too, is that while Elaine and Paula are talking about knowing yourself, when you talk about going out to eat and then learning to cook, not only is it maybe healthier, but it also then becomes fun. I know how much you like to cook, and it then becomes, a treat of its own as much as going out and having somebody else cook for you. Being able to design like a curriculum, I think, is a great way to kind of start clearing up the pollution.
You got it. There's lots of other, it could be a hobby too. You get into certain things that you're trying for the first time. If you like them, these can actually be a hobby, which will actually help in other ways. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a relatively low cost hobby or something that you can do for recreation as well it's like a snowball effect that's actually helping your finances. I mean, heck, man, you start researching and there's all kinds of things that you can learn and spend a good lot of time, constructive time, learning a new skill and getting good. And yeah, it's beneficial all around.
I love what Elaine said about really beginning kind of with the end in mind. Where do you want to go? And do these things serve that mission? So normally, if you're cleaning up pollution, it's going to be individual, right? It's going to be based on that. But let's take the different areas of a good financial plan, the external stuff, and let's start going through those.
Yeah, what about you? We haven't asked you a question. What's the biggest pollutant that you think?
Oh, I think the biggest pollutant for me is what you said about thinking. I think that we think about things backwards. We don't begin with the end in mind. We're so busy. Like I just gave a talk at Camp Financial Independence. And what I saw was a lot of people that wanted to know all these little leaves on the tree, and they weren't focused on the root. People like, I'm here for tax planning. And I thought, how do you know what tax plan works for you if you've got no idea where you want to go? And then there are people, what's the best investment? Well, what's the best investment if you haven't thought about where you want to go? That is for me the biggest pollutant.
Yes.
Very much in synergy with what you said. But Paula, let's ask you, let's go and talk about these external areas of a financial plan. I think we should start with, having good cash flow, getting a handle on our debt. What are some areas where we may have pollution in those spots, and how do we start to fix it?
Sure. When it comes to cash flow, the biggest thing is keeping your fixed expenses significantly below what you make. Because if you do that, then you have the wiggle room to be able to fluctuate with your monthly discretionary expenses. And so I think a lot of people, they do the opposite. They over-focus on the discretionary expenses on avocado toast because it, relatively speaking, feels easier. It feels easier to cut out an avocado toast than it does to downsize and move to a cheaper home, or to sell your car and pay cash for a older, less expensive vehicle. But by virtue of lowering those fixed costs, you give yourself the breathing room, the flexibility to have the occasional avocado toast, or to go to the movies, to see Barbenheimer on the weekend that it comes out, right? Like, you give yourself the flexibility to be able to do that, despite the fact that movie tickets are an astronomical price now. And so I think that that's how you clean up the pollution when it comes to cash flow, is by focusing on fewer but bigger and more fixed things rather than the daily leakage.
Yeah, make the big decisions. I really like that, the focus on the big decisions. Mm-hmm. Elaine, let's talk about the other side of that, earning money. A lot of people focus on the budget, but I think there's also opportunities to bring more income. There's got to be times when you sat down with somebody and you're like, listen, we just got to help you bring in more money in the front door.
Absolutely. And the biggest pollutant for that is your mind. That maybe you think that you can't do it because money is not enough. But it's so funny because it's a celestine prophecy, right? If money is not enough and you repeat it enough times, then absolutely it's going to become a reality. So what one should start saying is how, this is like a key tip. How can I make enough? Or how can I make $100,000? How can I make abundant money, right? Because not even limit yourself. And most of the time, the solution for it is either more education, certifications, more networking. Not only guide your money to your actions, but also time. I mean, that's the first thing I did when I became an entrepreneur. It was scary. I had a lot of doubts. I didn't have a manual guarantee that I was going to make a lot of money or anything. I mean, the first month when you become an entrepreneur, it's zero. So, from somebody that comes from a W-2 corporate 20-year career, it's scary. So the first thing that one should do is also allocate the time like you allocate the budget of your money. So Paula's point, she was talking about keeping your fix low. Also, keep your fix on your time low. So for example, if grocery shopping is going to take you 2 hours for some weird reason, then do a delivery or go once a week as opposed to go every day. Any other stuff that takes too much time, delegate, subcontract, or make sure that your time is getting to use. And you do that also by, it was a formula, so easy. You calculate how much is your time worth. Know how much your time is valued at.
This is a big aha, I think, for a lot of people, Len, is that when Elaine talks about something like Instacart or deliveries, and saving time. Actually, sometimes spending more money is actually the answer. And I think especially for people that listen to financial shows, that's like throwing cold water in your face.
There's lots of reasons why spending more money it can help you out. I mean, it's kind of like the old thing with quality over, sometimes like when you're buying products, you want to buy, you'll spend more because it'll last longer. You're buying less of the products over time than buying a whole bunch of cheap things that you have to replace every year, say. That happens a lot with all kinds of, especially big ticket items. It's usually worth paying more over the long haul than to pay less and pay more of it over time. So absolutely, that's one way to help you out.
I have an example. I'm drinking Positive Energy tea, and every time I used to go to the local supermarket, they were out of it. And when they had it, it was like double the price. But I went online and I found now I order in 6-pack, right? And so I don't have to go to the supermarket every time this runs out. And I save about $2 a box. So I'm saving $10. I don't have to think about having to go to this supermarket or that one because they ran out of it. So to your point, Len, we have to be very smart about time because, time has to do with money. And also we have to make time for the things that we love to do, like being with the family and doing exercise and, feeding our mind in the well-being side too.
That's funny, Elaine. You do that with that drink. Doug does that with scotch. Gets them 6 at a time. And
really?
Yeah, for sure.
True story.
Out of the back of some guy's trunk at the mobile station on the corner.
It's fantastic. He heard he's going to be blind in 2 years, but yeah. Paula, Elaine, I think, is singing off your song sheet here, isn't she?
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of valuing your time because it is a non-renewable resource. You can always make more money. You can never make more time, especially as an entrepreneur. The more that you can trade your money to use your money to buy back your time, the better. Because actually a piece of advice that I got from Laura Vanderkam, which I absolutely love, she said, the first thing you should do is fill your schedule with all the things that you cannot delegate, like exercising or calling your mom.
I'd love to delegate exercising.
Yeah, you can't pay somebody to like run a mile on your behalf. And those are often the things that you can't delegate are often the things that you just don't do because you have instead filled your schedule with things that otherwise actually could be delegated.
That's totally pollutants. Absolutely. Time pollution.
Yeah.
Len, you are someone who spent your career working in a big machine. There's a lot of people out there, when we talk about more money, afraid to ask for that raise. So let's clear up some pollution around getting a raise. Where do we start if we're afraid to go ask the boss for a raise?
Well, the biggest thing, and I tell both my kids this, is all year long, you should be recording your accomplishments and your value to the company or your boss or whoever that is. And as you do that, you can see your value to the company, or you can also see where you're not providing value to the company over time. If you don't have a bunch of bullet points after month 3 or month 4 on the job, you should be in trouble. But you put that list together, and it makes it so easy. It makes it so easy to go into the boss and just say, "Boss, I'm worth this. I'm worth this big of a raise, and here's why." You hand the paper over to them with the bullet points, and what can they say? That's what I did my entire career, and it was very successful. They really have nowhere to go when you show them what your value to the company. So
that's fabulous. Elaine, do you have something else?
Yes. And Len, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I can tell you what I did on a personal level because I was in corporate for 20 years. And just as a woman, Hispanic set aside, it was hard for me to get promoted. I was given a lot of bosses because the bosses will quit. Completely opposite of my physical appearance, of course. So anyway, what I did is I had to create confidence. And how I created confidence is I went online, and there are a few of the websites that you put all your accolades and your education and your experience, and it tells you how much you're worth. Because sometimes we are our worst enemy, right? And we think, oh, no, we're not worth that much. And with that amount, that was still not enough. And I'll tell you one specific anecdote, which was I actually said, okay, screw it. If they're not going to increase my salary, I'm going to go somewhere else. So I started interviewing, and I interviewed for about 50% more. And I got the offer letter, and I talked to my boss, and I said, I wish for all the things I've done, this company will value me as much as this other company. And they said, oh my God, let me talk to the owner. And I got my increase. So if anybody's hearing and doesn't have that confidence, believe me, just get the confidence externally and then apply it to it works, I think.
I love how, Elaine, you didn't include an ultimatum to your boss. You just said, I wish this would happen. Because I think, Len, maybe a couple of years ago, you told a story about a guy who said, hey, I'm worth this and I'm leaving if you don't pay me that. Ultimatum didn't go his way.
Yeah, I won't say his last name, but old Paul told our boss. He told our boss, and he even told me before this was going to happen that he was going to go in there and do it. And he made up that he had an offer for X dollars more than he's making, and he was going to leave. Well, he was bluffing, and the boss told him to get lost. Basically, goodbye. Thanks for resigning, and good luck in your new job.
Yeah.
So it was hilarious.
Yeah, I think I like Elaine's better, where she actually had a firm offer and had done some research versus the bluff too. Well, speaking of, don't let the door hit you on the way out, as the boss said to Paul, we're going to close the door on the first half of this show. Later on, we're going to do a few very quick strategies around risk management, investments, tax planning. But before that, at the midway point of every show, we have a trivia competition between our three frequent contributors, Len Penzo, Paula Pant, and of course, my co-host OG, who has the day off. So Elaine, you are playing for Team OG, which means there's some good news and some bad news. Would you like the good news first or the bad news?
The bad news.
Well, the bad news is that even though OG has won the last 2 years in a row, somehow, weirdly, he is in last place. I have no idea how he's in last place, but OG has 11, Len has 12, and Paula Pant has 12. Paula, by the way, we've said over and over, most people, I think, would agree that Paula is the smartest person in most rooms, but she is always in last place in our trivia, but not this year. We will see. The good news there too, Elaine, for you means you're going to get to guess last. Len will guess first. Paula's going to go second, and then you get to go third once you hear their answers. All right. But first, we need a trivia question. And for that, we turn to my mom's neighbor, Doug. What do we got today, Doug?
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. People keep telling me I need to put myself out there and date more. And by people, I mean Joe's mom. And by date more, she means just leave the house. Which reminds me that on this day in 1650, a man named Henry Robinson opened the world's first ever dating agency. Man, that's crazy. I didn't know they had apps back then. Although matchmakers already existed in the form of meddlesome neighbors, the Robinson Citizen Advice Bureau was the first formal dating agency of its kind. These days, with dozens of dating apps on the market like Bumble, OkCupid, and the new one I'm launching, Doug Finder, there's no shortage of places to find love. Today's matchmaking is a multi-billion-dollar industry. In fact, swiping pioneer Tinder pulled in over $440 million in revenue in the first quarter of this year alone. Today's trivia question is, what percentage of people on Tinder are either married or in a committed relationship? I'll be back right after I set up my profile on Doug Finder.
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
Didn't see that question coming.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Is that after or before?
That's right. Yeah. Once they get caught, that number, Elaine, may change, right? Yeah. Len, you've got first guess here. What percentage of people on Tinder either married or in committed relationships?
Boy, that's probably higher than boy, Tinder. This is on Tinder,
yes.
Right? Not on eHarmony or one of those.
Gee, like you've never heard of Tinder, Len.
Len's like, I don't know.
Thing?
Let me go check my profile.
You know what? I think it's high. I really think it's pretty high. I'll say 44%.
For almost 1 out of 2 people. Wow. Yeah. 44%. Paula, what do you think about that?
I'm going to go lower. I'm going to guess 20%.
20%. A reason why?
1 in 5.
You have a little more faith in humanity than Len does.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. 1 in 5.
There's some Len's a little cynical. All right, Elaine, you got 44% and 20%. What do you think?
I agree with Paula. However, this is a game, so I'm going to go with 30%.
30%. You're going to go right down the middle, kick a field goal, as they say. But you think it might be less than that? Is that what you're implying?
Well, I was trying to think of networking events. I mean, this is how I was reasoning. I was recently at a networking event. We were 5 and 2 or 3 were divorced. So I was kind of using that statistic. I didn't ask why they were divorced, but I was trying to use that statistic, and I was saying, wow, I didn't know. I thought it was 1 in 5 that were divorced, but in this case, it were, I think, 2 or 3.
Wow.
So 30%, I think.
30%.
A lot of the clients that I've had, I mean, some of them, I don't know. I mean, we can have another show about this, but does infidelity come before or after financial money conflicts? But I think they're very close together.
No, that is a whole separate show that maybe we'll have you back around Valentine's Day for the anti-Valentine's Day episode. I don't know. Well, Len's got 44%. Elaine's got 30. Paula's got 20. We want to tell you who's right, but we're going to take just a little break here. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Len, you kicked it off with 44%. You feeling good? Because both Paula and Elaine went significantly lower than you.
Yeah, no, my cynicism probably screwed me on this one. So yeah, no, I'm not feeling good.
Paula, Elaine didn't do what some guests do and go like 21. So you've got a little breathing room at 20.
Yeah, exactly. I basically have that 25% and under kind of category.
Yeah, Paula, and also Elaine, you got a nice mid-range at 30. You feeling good?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's see. Paula and Elaine both confident. Len not. Doug, what's our answer?
Hey there, stackers. I'm app inventor and world's fastest right hand. I mean to swipe. Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. If you're looking for a partner in crime or even in love, there's plenty of places for you to start looking. At the grocery store, in the park, at Joe's mom's house. There's even a handful of dating apps that cater to individual denominations like J-Date, Christian Mingle, and Farmers Only. If you are on one of the apps, odds are you're using one that's part of Match Group, which owns the largest portfolio of dating apps worldwide. Within that conglomerate, Tinder alone rakes in nearly 60% of its parent company's total revenue. Today's trivia question was, what percentage of people on Tinder are either married or in a committed relationship? You know, we could have asked you, what percentage of your assets will you lose once your partner finds out? But that would have been too easy. Well, what was the answer? Still not going to tell you just yet. What I will tell you is that Paula was way off, Elaine was a little bit off, and Len was even a little bit less off because the answer is 42%, meaning Len is our winner. There's 42% of the people on there who already have a partner. Wake up, people.
That is so ugly.
Wow.
Len, I did not want you to be that correct, I have to say.
That was, my cynicism was correct. But after Elaine and Paula gave their guesses, I was like, well, maybe I am too cynical. But yeah, no.
It's the world we want to see that we think we live in, but I guess we don't.
I totally agree, Elaine. I was hoping the number was like 2 or less,
right.
2% or less. Yeah. All right. Time for the second half of our discussion. It's brought to you by depositaccounts.com. Elaine, you know what happens when you go to depositaccounts.com?
No, tell me.
I will. Thank you. Thanks for asking.
I'm really excited about that.
When you go to deposit accounts, you find that you can compare more than 275,000 deposit rates from over 11,000 banks and credit unions. You could compare for free. And actually, I have it pulled up, and this is going to come out a little bit after I read these. So make sure you go there yourself to look at the rates. But right on the front page, we see The national average on a savings account as we record this is 0.45%, but the top 1% average, 4.74%. So a huge difference. Money markets, top 1% average, 4.59, while the national average only 0.77. Man, get those deposit accounts taken care of. Go to depositaccounts.com. All right. Let's dive into the second half. Elaine, let's start with you as our distinguished guest. Let's clean up the pollution around risk management strategies. Because, man, when you're in online forums, at least when I'm in online forums, I see a lot of people talking junk about insurances as an example and getting some things really wrong.
Yeah, so one of the pollutions, I think, is, to all of your points, spending money where you're not supposed to. And I remember the first time I was interviewed, the reporter asked me, Lane, should I use my money to take my kid to Disney World or buy health insurance? And I was so shocked by that question. And I think that's...
You said clearly Disney World.
No, I was shocked. I was like, what? As human beings, we don't invest in this type of things, but insurance is a need because when something happens, like a hurricane or a loss of job or whatever that is, then your money is going to be diminished greatly. And sometimes people think that they're really gaining, getting ahead of the game by not spending on insurance. But I think you need insurance, at least the core insurance is very important. So the pollutant would be your distractions in your mind saying Disney World today versus insurance long term. And there are certain insurances that you don't need, but the core is the auto, of course, the house and your health.
Auto, house, and health. Let's talk about the ones that we might not need. Paula, what's a popular insurance that you see people have that they could probably discard?
For most people, whole life insurance. Now, that's not term life. That's different. But whole life insurance, for the majority of people, unless you have a very high income and it's a tax strategy kind of a thing, you probably don't need that. Jewelry insurance, basically insurance on anything that you could reasonably pay for out of pocket, you probably don't need.
Education insurance.
There's an education insurance?
I'll tell you, there's two that I think we really don't. Is there's vet insurance, and then for people here in Southern California is earthquake insurance, which the state sends every year. They say, hey, you want earthquake insurance? You got to do it because your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover it. But the problem is with the earthquake insurance is the deductible is so huge that it just, at least for me, I'm not giving advice, people. You make your own decisions, do your own research, but it's just that I cannot see the amount of damage being done to my home just from a normal shaking and of an earthquake, because the structures out here are already built to code. And I mean, I can't see anything more than broken windows adding up to, these huge, for example, for my home, the deductible will be like almost $40,000. I cannot see $40,000 worth of insurance in even the worst earthquake out here.
Well, I think to your point, Len and Paula, it's double insurance is the worst insurance. Sometimes your credit card has the insurance. Sometimes your, to the jewelry included in your home. I mean, double insurance is the worst. Sometimes people buy it because they don't know that they have it already.
Well, and I think to your point, Elaine, some of the riders I see on insurance policies, like they'll have a AAA membership that includes towing, and lo and behold, they also have towing on their car insurance. So they're doubling that way as well.
Yes.
Len, let's talk about the vet insurance because it's interesting. We had a professor from MIT talking about how, man, these pet insurance policies, they are very expensive. But if somebody really, 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 really loves Fido and wants to see Fido as a member of the family, people eat that insurance up. It's almost like it's more emotional than it is fiscal responsibility.
You make a good point, Joe. And I guess it is on your mindset because, I love my animals. I love them to death, but I do have a financial limit. To me, they're still animals. And there's a financial point where you just say, well, it's a dog, I love you to death, but it's time to go.
Len, I think the phrase love you to death is probably indicative.
I have to say, though, I have a neighbor and we have some good friends who both had dogs who had cancer, and they both put them through very expensive chemotherapy. We're talking 5 figures, and they spent the money. So, there are people out there. Maybe that's when the insurance would be worth it.
I have a client that actually texted me when the dog was very, very ill. I said, Elaine, I'm about to spend, I don't know, it was $5,000 or $10,000, but it's the only way he's going to live. And she did, and he died. Right.
Right.
So I think we need to be very knowledgeable and careful what we're doing, because I always tell my clients, you need to know where the motivation comes from the person that's giving you the advice. Who was giving you that advice? I wasn't. Is a vet giving you the advice? Is the insurance giving you the advice? Who's the interested party here?
There's some pollution in our thinking right there, Elaine. We don't think critically enough about who is telling us to do something. We take stuff that we think is well-meaning advice, but we don't look behind that advice. I think that's pollution.
Yeah, we always joke about, I don't know, they just discovered that bacon was healthy. I mean, who wrote that? The Bacon Society?
A genius.
Elaine, you're a comedian, man. You're very good. I like you.
Thank you. Me too. I like you guys too. Seriously, real estate. No, the real estate market's going up. Who wrote that? A realtor? I mean, we have to know who writes these papers. And ideally, it's a combination of things and understanding that. So, anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's go to investments before we say goodbye. Paula, let's talk about pollutants in our investment strategy. Where do we begin there?
Chasing novelty is a pollutant. Thinking things should be more complicated than they need to be because we feel as though, some people have an aversion to inaction. And so they think that if they're constantly checking their accounts and shuffling things around, that action, we're taught in every other element of our life that hard work corresponds to better results, right? In our careers, that's true. In our academics, that's true. In fitness, that's true. Investing is, with a passively managed index strategy, it's the one area where less is more.
It truly does feel like, investments, it's a funny thing, Len, that investing should be boring. I think you're on board with that too, right?
Well, ideally, yeah. When it's not boring, that means you're either doing really good or you're doing really poorly.
This is a guy who invests in rocks. So hell yes, he likes it to be boring.
I will say this, though. I think you can have pollution in the opposite direction, too. If you're investing in something that you're not an expert in, sometimes I do believe it's worth paying somebody who's an expert in the field you're investing in to pay that 1% or 0.5%. I use this example all the time. For example, I'm in mining stocks. I'm not an expert in mining at all. I'm not a geologist. I don't know. And they're very volatile stocks. So I pay a professional to manage my portfolio of mining stocks just because I couldn't sleep at night if I was doing it on my own.
It is so interesting to me, our fixation on fees. And Elaine, cutting fees are definitely important, but sometimes I think Len's right. We get the cart before the horse there.
Yes. What comes to mind is that famous quote by Warren Buffett that price is what you pay and value is what you get. There's so much truth to that. I learned this when I wasn't a W-2 anymore, because when you have a salary, it's hard to put yourself in the position of an entrepreneur. But once you have a service and you're asking for a discount, you're really asking them to work a little harder for less, but you're expecting the same value. So you have to be careful. I'm talking to the end consumer here. When you ask for a discount, you're actually asking for a favor. So be careful. And if you want a Rolls Royce, you got to pay for a Rolls Royce. If you get the price of a bicycle and you're expecting a Rolls Royce, that's unreal. So
I think it's great. Don't get me wrong, don't overpay, but too often we think, especially money geeks, hey, what do I pay for that is our first question. And I think what you're saying is my first question should be, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? And then is the fee commiserate with that? Let's stick with you for a second in tax planning. Where do we have pollution in our tax planning?
Misinformation. There's so many accounts the government gives us. We all know the IRA, Roth IRA, the regular one, the health HSA. There's so many. For kids, the Coverdell tax credits. So misinformation is the biggest pollutant. I would suggest people to go, I do this before I go to my accountant every year. I go to Google IRS and I look at the new deductions that are eligible for the year. And I make sure that I'm taking full advantage of that before the year end. So planning for taxes is also very important. And as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of flexibility that you can apply for deductions.
Anything to add there, Len?
If you're going to do your own taxes, hopefully they're simple. If they're complex, you should go to a professional and make sure they're a professional, because I know of people who've gone to non-professionals and have gotten a nasty letter from the IRS, and they realized that the non-professional who did their taxes totally screwed them over. Because remember, you are responsible for your taxes. Even no matter who does those taxes for you, you are responsible ultimately.
one big faux pas that I see that people do is, especially entrepreneurs, is that they don't allot for taxes. And then they complain where they're going to get money to pay for taxes. So I suggest to all the clients to have a little account called taxes. Because if you make $1, that's not the dollar that you have to put in your pocket. You always have to allot for the taxes at the end of the year.
Boy, and set that aside right away, because if you don't, you'll get behind this rolling wall that's a ball that's out of control. I see people do that all the time. Oh, the next deal I do, I will make sure and set that money aside for taxes, and that never happens. A pollutant that I see in this area is people, Len, to your point with a professional, they evaluate their professional based on how big of a refund they get.
Exactly.
Wow.
That is exactly right.
Wow.
Yes.
You see this all the time. Hey, I go to this person. They got me a much bigger refund. It was great.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Wow.
Not even realizing, well, people don't realize, Paula, that's a function of your withholding, right? So this person's being evaluated on something that's not even in their control, which blows me away. Yeah. Let's end this discussion, Paula, with yours. Anything to add on tax planning?
Whew. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Unless you're basically an 18-year-old with just a W-2, right? Unless you have a very simple situation. I think everyone benefits from having a CPA. So get a CPA, get a good one. And how do you know the difference between a good one versus a mediocre one? Do they act like they work for you, or do they act like they work for the IRS? Right? I think as you converse with them, you'll be able to sense that.
Isn't the other way you can tell, Paula, is that they get you big fat stacks of cash as a return?
Stacks of Benjamins.
Pretty sure that's the other way you know that they're good.
Duh. That's a good place, I think, to end it. There's so many more areas we didn't touch on. I mean, we didn't talk at all about education planning. We didn't talk at all about estate planning. There's so much pollution all over the place, but hopefully we help people clear up some of it. Let's find out where everybody's working on now. I love hearing the projects that you have going, the things going on in your backyard. We'll have our guest of honor go last. Let's start with you, Len. What's going on at lenpenzo.com?
Well, first, I want to thank everybody for coming by my site and clicking on all those ads last week. You've just made me a ton of money, and I will be going out for a nice dinner tonight. Thank you.
But just remember, Len, what need is that fulfilling? What need?
My hunger. I don't know. I'm kidding, people. I'm kidding. I am rerunning an old article from about 10 years ago when my daughter was just 12 years old, where she wrote about her 5 biggest money fears as a 12-year-old.
I remember. This was so good.
Well, she wrote many articles for me, but this was one of them. And I think this one actually got on MSN as well. She had a couple that got on MSN. But this was one of them. And so I'm rerunning that just for fun this week at lenpenzo.com. My daughter's 5 biggest money fears. It's really interesting now that she's 24 now. Anyway, it's really funny looking back now and seeing what she was afraid of back when she was 12, So it's really cool.
It's still so great. I do remember that piece. It is a wild thing to think about how much a 12-year-old thinks about money and fear. Yeah. We don't give 12-year-olds enough credit for some of the fear that they have around money already starting up. Paula, what's going on at Afford Anything?
On the Afford Anything podcast, we have a series of great interviews coming up. We've got Noah Kagan, who writes about a $1 million weekend, how to kickstart a business. We have, let's see, who else are we interviewing? Oh, Seth Stevens Davidowitz. He writes about using data to get what you really want in life. So why you should not trust your gut and instead make data-based decisions, data-driven decisions. And then, of course, every other episode, Joe, you join me and we answer audience questions. And in the best episodes, we disagree.
That is. And we recorded one this morning where we disagreed.
Yep, exactly.
That's at Afford Anything, where finer podcasts are listened to. Elaine, thank you so much for joining us. It was so fun having you here. Thanks a ton.
Thank you. You want to hear my project?
Absolutely. What do you got going on in your backyard at elaineking.com?
Funny you ask. Let me read them. No, the first one that comes to my mind is I was just on the call before we started this conversation. I'm launching my 8th book, and it happened to be... All right. Thank you. With Penguin Random House. And it's a children's book, and it's teaching children how to save with a purpose, how to do a business that's sustainable, and how to share with the community in an impactful way. And I am aligning myself with educational institutions or financial institutions to to help spread the word, mostly in Peru and in Latin America, because I think that's where the kids need it more. And it's for kids between 8 and 11. So hopefully I'll have it in Amazon or something like that. But I'm not launching it till probably November. But that's the project I'm working on. Besides, growing the IRA and financial planning and all that.
I don't know how you had time to fit this in with all the cool projects you've going on.
I was going to say, I just met you today, Elaine, and I would have to say, I really wish you had a little more ambition in life. It just
right.
Seriously? Yeah. Let's talk online.
I'm just no.
Totally wishes you had something going on. Like your life seems so boring. Well, you got to come back in November and talk about it. So let's make sure that we talk about the book when you release it.
I will have the book and show you and everything.
Oh, that'll be fabulous. Congratulations. And I always love helping kids. It's so rewarding helping kids.
Speaking of kids.
Speaking of kids, we're about to hand it over to Doug. You'll find everything Elaine at elaineking.com, and we'll also link to that in our show notes. But Doug, I think you've got that. But even before that, let's put a pin on this. Lots of takeaways today, but what are our top 3?
Well, Joe, first, take some advice from Elaine King and create a financial well-being checklist to help you manage, save, invest, and protect your money. Second, don't forget that some of the financial pollution in your plan may be internal. Think twice about your relationship with money and look for ways to eliminate the negativity. But the big lesson? Contrary to what I thought in the 7th grade, staring at someone across the gym does not mean they're on board with a date or even a dance. You got to walk up to them and you got to say, I can't fight this feeling anymore. Or pretty soon, if you don't do anything, she'll be Jesse's girl. That's what I learned. Thanks to Elaine King for joining us today. You can find out more about Elaine at elaineking.com. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. Thanks to Paula Pant for hanging out with us today. You'll find her fabulous podcast, Afford Anything, wherever you listen to finer podcasts. And finally, thanks to Len Penzo for joining us today. You can find Len at lenpenzo.com/moneyleakage/depends. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2023, and is created by Joe Salsihai. Our producer is Karen Repine. This show was written by Lisa Curry, who's also the host of the Long Story Long podcast, with help from me, Joe, and Doc G from the Earn and Invest podcast. Kevin Bailey helps us take a deeper dive into all the topics covered on each episode in our newsletter called The 201. You'll find the 411 on all things money at The 201. Just visit stackingbenjamins.com/201. Wonder how beautiful we all are? Of course, you'll never know if you don't check out our YouTube version of this show, engineered by Tina Eichenberg. Then you'll see once and for all that I'm the best thing going for this podcast. Once we bottle up all this goodness, we ship it to our engineer, the amazing Steve Stewart. Steve helps the rest of our team sound nearly as good as I do right now. Want to chat with friends about the show later? Mom's friend Gertrude and Kate Youngkin are our social media coordinators, and Gertrude is the room mother in our Facebook group called The Basement. Say hello when you see us posting online. To join all the basement fun with other stackers, type stackingbenjamins.com/basement. Not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
Wait! Where are you going? I was going to make espresso.